All right, back again already. So if there's one thing this Azami deck does consistently, it's get good contested games. And I think that's probably more a testament to the fact that Mono Blue just has issues with stuff than it is the fact that the deck is particularly exceptional at that. It's probably something that's kind of endemic to Mono Blue decks in general. But anyway, yeah, I just had this game right after I recorded the last game, decided to play one more game before going to bed, and had another pretty awesome game actually against this guy Warpig194 playing Alela, Artful Provocateur, a commander, another fairly new commander. I've never played against this one either, but quite a lot of abilities for a 4-mana commander, and makes very high power fairy creatures very quickly, a whole army of them. Obviously this is not in the Zur category of power level, but pretty interesting and probably a pretty fun commander as well, because you can play a creature theme. And I'm still with Azami. I actually made the swap and now have Urza in the deck, even though it's not a wizard. I think the card is just too insanely powerful in this kind of an archetype not to use. And very, very good draw here. I've got Arcane Signet in my hand for the first time, and Ponder as well to go with it on turn 1. Super happy with this hand, so definitely automatic keep. He is going first, but hopefully it won't matter too much. All right. Nice. Pluto Delta makes things a little bit better too. Oh, and there's of the Ponder, I see this is a Metamorph that I just put back. So Metamorph Remand and Mox Diamond makes the hand even better. I've got a 2-mana counter now, as well as Mox Diamond to accelerate into that Signet on turn 2, and the land to go with it. It would be hard to sculpt a better hand without any of the degenerate artifacts. So I'm feeling super confident right now. I mean, really, what can the fairy deck really do? Metallic Mimic, very cool to see that in here. I think this card's quite underplayed actually, and works really, really well in obviously any type of tribal themed deck. So it makes all of his fairies really strong actually. They all come down as, they're all 3/2 flyers. He gets a 3/2 flyer for every, artifact or enchantment he plays once his commander's out. It's pretty nice. I'm going to sack that. Let's double check and see if Urza's in here now. Yep, there he is right there. I cut the Teferi, the 6-mana Teferi Planeswalker, which is kind of a little decadent anyway. Very much a win more card, I think, in this deck. All right, Mox Diamond throws away the land. And I'd use the fetch land too because I wanted to reshuffle the Metamorph. I didn't really see a particularly good reason to have it at the beginning of the game. Even though it could mean copying Gilded Lotus, I think that one Gilded Lotus is plenty for the time being, and I have no imperative to copy it. I really just need a 5th mana source instead. Well, a 5th mana source that is, I don't have to spend 3 mana to cast. Metallic Mimic bashes me for 2. All right. Oh, Sapphire Medallion. God, that's so nice too. And I figure if he counters the Sapphire Medallion, I'm just going to remand it back to my hand and play it on the following turn and draw a card as well. And this also will give me Metalcraft for the Stoic Rebuttal. So I'm set up. I mean, really, like, what can he do? Sure, he can cast his Fairy next turn. It's just going to get countered with Stoic. And then I can probably run out my Azami with Remand backup because of Sapphire Medallion. And that's probably GG. And then he plays the enemy of counterspells the world over. Cavern of Soul Crushing. Damn it. That's going to change this game a lot. Oh, man. Okay, well, at least I can cast Azami next turn. But Alela comes down as a 3/4 flyer with Death Touch, Lifelink, and Flying. Or, well, obviously it has Flying. Okay, Island is really important there because this is going to allow me to actually cast the Azami. I would have played Glenelendra Archmage there next turn, or last turn for sure, just to have a way to stop the Metallic Mimic from beating me in the face. But getting Azami is really nice here because I have Remand backup in case he does have something really hellacious that isn't a fairy. This is a weird card. Oh, I guess this makes sense. He's got the ability to regrow enchantments if they get cast so he can get more tokens. I really like this guy's deck, actually. It's really quite cool. Lots of neat synergistic stuff. And Lightning Greaves also works fantastic with his commander's ability because the fairies, no matter how big they are, get haste. And I am under a lot of pressure just like that. I'm going to draw here. I just get an island. Lightning Greaves on the 3/2 fairy and getting smash for 8. Ow. Just like that, already down to 17. He has the potential to just put 2 more fairies into play and hit me for 11 next turn. Take me down to one turn from lethal. You wouldn't expect Esper to be so aggressive, but that's certainly what this deck is. And he throws the Greaves back on his guy, which is another nice play. Can't counter anything. All right, well, I've got to, like many times with the Azami deck, you just kind of have to wait for the commander to dig you out of the problem before you die. Usually it can do it, but not always. All right, play an island. And actually, the Glenelender Archmage is awesome here because it's a 2/2 flyer that draws 2 cards if I use it to persist. It will kill off a fairy token and potentially the Mimic if he's foolish enough to attack with it. All right, I'm in 17, but I don't think that he should be using Metallic Mimic to attack me. He plays Westvale Abbey, which I think is probably a little decadent in a 3-color deck. Sure, I mean, you might be able to sacrifice 5 fairies to it, 5 free creatures, but honestly, that's 10 power and flying. You probably have already won the game at that point. Probably no reason to use the Westvale Abbey, I think, over a more reliable dual land. Thunderclap Wyvern. Does he not notice that this thing has flash? I'm not really sure why he would play that pre-attack step, given the fact that I mean, maybe he wants to know if it resolves, so that changes how he attacks, but I think he's probably attacking at least with the 2 flyers no matter what, and it doesn't affect the Metallic Mimic. So I'm just going to remand that back to his hand. I'm very happy to have Force of Will and still have another counterspell. So he thinks for a while, and then he attacks with all 3. I don't agree with this play at all. I mean, I think sending him these 2 is fine. I think that sending him the Metallic Mimic is just, I mean, you get 2 extra damage, I guess, or 3 extra damage, but at the cost of losing something that's so powerful for enabling your entire strategy. A little weird. But regardless, I'm certainly blocking the Mimic, and I'm going to draw a card before damage is dealt, so that when it persists back, I get to draw another card. I love that interaction. It's so gross. And I'm down to 11, though. Still pressuring me a lot. Draw again. Oh, Sword of Feast and Famine. Very, very nice card to get, because that allows the Glenelender to block the fairy all day and reduce damage down to practically nothing. And additionally, he only has 2 land untapped, and I've got the Medallion, so I can probably actually get a hit in with the sword as well, depending on what I draw. Castle Ventress. Easily activated. So far this thing is 2 for 2 in terms of drawing it and being able to play it just like an island with extra cool abilities, so it's certainly making the cut so far. Hell, this card might go in Brea, to be honest. Brea's got a million islands in it, and yeah, if I could find room. I think I'm currently running a Cephalid Coliseum as a sort of quasi-island slot, and I think Castle Ventress might actually even be better than that card in there. Sword of Feast and Famine comes down, and because I'm going to need Glenelender on blocking duty, Azami prepares to attack. Get in there, girl. Yeah, connects with Warpig. And I get to untap 5 land. He drops Teferi's Protection. Huh, that's kind of interesting too. Seems weird card to have, given that it kills all of your fairy. Oh no, actually, I guess, do tokens, when tokens phase, do they come back? There's no way that they can come back, right? I know that enchantments stay on things, but I think if you phase out tokens, I think they're gone forever. That's a little weird to play with that card, but maybe he's got a reason for it. All right, post-combat. And I could play the Tezzeret the Seeker here, but I ultimately decide that it's kind of reasonably high probability that it will just be dead. So I'm going to just play the Lotus and glide the sword over onto Glenelender. He can't really attack very effectively here. I mean, I guess he could attack with this fairy and hit me for 3, but I don't really mind being at 8. This holds off this guy for a turn. And now that he's lost his Mimic, his subsequent fairies are a lot weaker as well. They don't have extra toughness. All right, he plays the Thunderclap Wyvern. We saw that before. And then he casts Path to Exile on Glenelender Archmage. I've been having Path cast on me a lot lately. And this is a pretty tough call here. I have the ability to counter it, of course. Probably best play would be to counter it with Stoic Rebuttal. But I think about it for a long time, and I kind of want to keep both the counters in my hand. And I realize that as long as this Thunderclap Wyvern can't attack me right now, I can use the Into the Royal to bounce the Greaves, because I kind of need to do that anyway, because basically my game plan involves using Shackles to steal Alela and using the lifelink to stay alive. So I can't really do that with Lightning Greaves in play. If I bounce the Greaves, then he can't equip them to the Thunderclap Wyvern and hit me for 3 with that and kill me. So with that in mind, I decide to take the super, super conservative approach here. Well, I guess, is it conservative or is it high risk? I don't know. Maybe it's more high risk. Regardless, I'm going to take the greedy play, and I'm going to enter the Royal, the Greaves, so he can't throw them onto the Wyvern. I draw a shady land. And I should have drawn a card there in response, clearly, since it was dying anyway. So, screwed up there. You can tell I'm rusty with the Azami deck. I haven't played this deck in months and months. Missing the ability to draw extra cards. But now he can only hit me for 8, taking me to 3. And when I'm looking at the board state, for a minute I'm thinking, my God, did I just lose the game? Because if I play Tezzeret and I use Tezzeret to fetch Vidalcan Shackles, I can steal... I'm thinking I steal the Wyvern, but then he hits me with both of these creatures, and they're both 3 power and I'm at 3, so I'd actually be dead. But if I steal Alela, it'll be a 3 power creature. I can block 1, take 3, and gain 3. Or I guess I would block this fairy, and I would gain 3 and take 3 damage and break even and still be alive. So I'm not actually screwed, provided he doesn't have something with haste. And then my deck just gives me Vidalcan Shackles anyway to make it a lot easier, which is pretty ridiculous. All right, so I'll play Tezzeret. I'm going to play the Shackles. Throw the Shackles on his... oh yeah, that's right. Steal the Wyvern. Tap the last mana. Throw the Shackles on Azami. Azami attacking again. 2 hits of Azami in the same game. That might be a first. All right. I get to Scepter him for a moat and untap all my land, and now it's time for Tezzeret to go get that Metamorph. The Phyrexian Metamorph that I put on the bottom at the beginning of the game. The deck's basically the same. It's just Urza. +1 Urza, -1 Teferi. And now Metamorph comes down and copies the Snackles, number 2. And you see me tapping mana because I have... well, it's really late right now, and I'm not playing to the best of my abilities, but I still can at least remember to steal his fairy once it's untapped. And now I've got 2 blockers, and one of them is a 4/5 because it's being buffed by the Thunderclap Wyvern, and that gives me lifelink. And so he's going to make a Hail Mary play of casting the Immortal Sun, which I will certainly counter with Rebuttal. Is this a wizard? That's a Warlock. Weird. Fairy Warlock. With the writing very much on the wall, at that point you can see Warpig concedes the game. And that is the end. Under a ton of pressure early, but Azami's tools, as usual, pull it out. This deck just does that consistently. With double Shackles is really just totally nuts against Esper. You probably have a very, very small range of cards that can interact with it. I think I made a couple of dubious judgment calls. I think probably in retrospect it was probably wrong and overly risky to take the route that I did. But the thing is that if he threw his Greaves onto his Thunderclap Wyvern and attacked me, I could block the big guy. I could soak up 4 damage there because my thing is pro-black, and I take 7. So the damage isn't really all that different. I would go down to 4 life, and he'd still have the Vidalcan Shackles in play that I would have to deal with before I'd be able to use... I'm sorry, he'd still have the, not the Shackles, the Lightning Greaves in play that I'd still have to deal with before I could properly use my Shackles. So maybe in retrospect, that was actually not a bad play. And it got me an extra island too when he cast Path to Exile. But pretty happy overall with how the deck is performing. I will play some more games and get some more data. But hope you guys enjoyed that game. If you're an Azami fan, stay tuned. There'll be more games. See you soon.